Nigeria Green Industrial Zone. The president also approved the appointment of Ajirin Galali as a special presidential envoy on climate action and chairman Project Evergreen. A special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajirin Galali, revealed that Infracore will be responsible for the selection of partners and consultants to undertake critical development activities, including project design, environmental impact assessments, feasibility studies, financial modeling, and market engagement. The project will promote industrial development that meets the demands of the present and the future. President Tinubu hopes that the project will position Nigeria as a leading manufacturing hub in Africa for renewable energy technologies, green solutions, and climate adaptation technologies for the benefit of Nigerians and Africans at large. Well, joining us via Zoom from Benin is country focal person, a public interest lawyering initiative for West Africa, Chima Williams. Chima, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Chima, can you hear me? All right, while we wait for Chima, Project Evergreen, there has been reactions to this. The president saying that he wants to make Nigeria the leading manufacturing hub in Africa for renewable technologies, green solutions, and climate adaptation technologies for the benefit of Nigeria and Nigerians and Africa at large. We have seen the impact of climate change across the world. And if we're talking about solutions like this, it's very important. It's a critical time that we have these kinds of solutions and projections and plans. It's very important so that we can deal with the ever perhaps challenging matters of climate change. We have seen how flooding has devastated parts of the country, and not just Nigeria, but across Africa and even the world. And so there has been talks, even when we went for COP28, the talks about how the conversation is really impacting countries like Nigeria and Africa, if really these are the issues we need to address. And so this conversation is very important right now. We have Chima Williams joining us now. Chima, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Right, we can hear you now. So the question is, with regards to this matter that the president has put forward, saying that he wants Nigeria to be that hub in Africa for renewable energy technologies, green solutions, and climate adaptation technologies for the benefit of Nigerians and Africa at large. How do you interpret what the president intends to do when you look at the ever-challenging issues we have been dealing with when it comes to climate change as a country and even in Africa?
Yeah, thank you very much. First is to commend the president for thinking throughout this initiative. But the critical question is, this is just an intention that Mr. President have expressed, even though a committee had been set up for this, because the design of this project, the location, and the contents are not yet known. Until we get to that, before we can begin to assess whether the project is actually going to drive Mr. President's intentions. And when it comes to climate issues, climate change, a country like Nigeria cannot be just thinking of a singular project and think that they are creating solutions to climate change issues. As we are aware, Nigeria is one of the greatest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions, if not number one in Africa and number 3 or number 5 in the world, because of issues of gas flaring. And these are living issues that should be targeted. And if we have done something towards that line, because governance is a continuum. President Muhammadu Buhari did promise that gas flaring will come to an end, sometime in 2030 or thereabout. Now, if Mr. President Tinubu is committed to tackling the issues of climate change in Nigeria, I think it should be addressing from where the previous administration stopped and continue that discussion there to or therefrom, okay? And that is the only time that the green zone can make meaning to Nigerians, because it might end up like the other good-intentioned projects that ended up not being beneficial to Nigerians, and that is if it is completed in the first instance. Okay, so until we see the actual design, the location, of course, I am happy as an environmentalist that there is a disclosure that there will be issue of environmental impact assessment conducted. Okay, so that will show us whether the Evergreen project will produce a project that will be acceptable to Nigerians without creating a follow-up negative incident that will override the intended benefits of this project.
Right. I can recall that prior to the 2023 general election, when the president was speaking with the global community in as regards climate change and also complying with carbon emission and all of that, he tried to tell them that, well, the international countries, other countries will not, or Western countries will not force us to do what we are meant to do. We are going to do it, on our own terms. So I'm wondering how this, green industrial zone, aligns with the Nigeria's environmental goals and commitments. Could you expatiate on that?
Yeah, I think this forms part of the questions that Nigerians should be asking about this project. Okay, yes, we are going to do it in our own terms, according to our own timelines and what we feel should be done. But this project, if actually conducted according to the expectations of Nigerians, may create an opportunity to begin to address a top-line issue on climate change. It is not going to address the main issues. We shouldn't be, we should be mindful of that. It's not the green zone is not going to address the Nigerian climate change issues. It is only going to design and bring into fruition something that can help Nigerians to begin on their own to try to contribute to mitigation processes. But the actual culprits and the actual concerns and causes of greenhouse gas emission in Nigeria has not been addressed. Okay? And will never be addressed by this project. So I will want to see this project design shown to Nigerians to be that this project will be developed and implemented in an area of Nigeria that has gas flaring stats, so that it can reduce the gas flare, quantum that is coming out from Nigeria. So every other thing that is done outside of addressing the key causes, will just be that, well, we don't have any choice and to adapt with the situation. And then when it comes, we continue to cry. Now, this green zone project, how will it address the perennial flooding incidents that Nigerians witnesses arising from the impact of climate change, where people die, where houses are, pushed off, and where waters overtake human residents and create a lot of problems. So this project, as I said earlier on, is a good one. well conceived, well thought out of, but it's implementation that will show Nigerians what it is actually intended to achieve. Whether this is not going to be another project of empowering the destroyers to continue to destroy our environment in the name of green. Okay? Because anything can be green on paper, but might be brown on ground. So until we see these come up, we can now begin to analyze it and have a clearer understanding of the necessary questions to ask.
Right. So if I hear you correctly, you're saying that this project is not a climate action, rather it's more of a commercial action, as some have said.
Sure, there is, of course, if you look at, the president's statement while in setting up the committees and the rest of them, it's a commercial issue, only that it is to be designed to provide cleaner source of energy for Nigerians and Africans as a whole, as anticipated. Remember this word, anticipated, because we have seen projects that have been praised to high heavens, but at the end of the day, they were never completed and they never came to fruition. Okay? So we should equally, as Nigerians, be very careful on this. Let us urge Mr. President, yes, if that is the route you want to take, which is an adaptive measure on climate issue, create a situation where the people can live with it. Okay, but it is not the real solution. It will never, this Evergreen project will never provide a real solution to climate issues in Nigeria. What happens to the frontline communities who are the core beneficiaries or victims of climate impacts? Will this green zone cover them? Will it cater for them? Will they be relocated? What are the designs? Okay, so it is something that we must look at before we start praising it or condemning it. We have to have the clear picture of what it is all about. So, as it is, Mr. President have only declared his intentions.
Right.
That is it.
So what makes this? What makes this?
As an intention.
Now, Mr. Chima, if you can hear me, what makes this current green project different from the previous administrations? Because earlier you mentioned that you would prefer that the president continue from where the past administration stopped. I'd like for you to expatiate on what makes that perhaps preferable to what the president is proposing now.
Yeah, when I talk about leadership being a continuum, that Mr. President can continue from where the previous president stopped on the declaration that his administration will work towards eradication of gas flaring in Nigeria, of course, we saw some propositions on gathering the gas that is supposed to be flared and turning it into commercial use, and then getting some revenue from it, and then trying to reduce the incidence, and then this will lead to Nigeria reducing her, carbon footprint in the global carbon emission trajectory. Now, if President decides not to talk about the issue of gas flaring and is talking about, a green zone, we shouldn't forget that we have the green wall that had been designed some time ago. Has it been able to solve the climate problems that Nigeria witnesses. So it is not just discussing a project that does not touch the root cause of the problem that you want to solve. And Nigerians cannot be deceived to say that this project is going to solve a climate problem. It is not going to do that, no matter how well designed it is, because from the beginning, it is a commercial venture. And every commercial activity is based on profit maximization. So the designers will have to look at it from where it will be cheapest for them, where they will have, the infrastructure come in. And don't forget that for this type of project, I would not be surprised if there are tax rebates on the equipment to develop green projects or green zone. So,
right.
At the end of the day, what is it that is in this project that would be to the benefit of the common man, the farmer in the village, the fisherman in the village? What will be the benefit? Because even the renewable energy sources that we are talking about, even if it comes, how many Nigerians can afford it? How many Nigerians can afford to patronize the products from these green zone projects? So it is a compound question that we think should be looked at correctly so that we can reposition the narratives properly and not bring this into the arguments and campaign on climate change.
That's right. Looking at your concerns as regards the impact of these on the environment, just about a week ago, the president met with a Chinese firm, Canmax Technologies in Abuja, where the president said Nigeria will become the manufacturing hub for electronic vehicle batteries, and they are investing about $200 million in producing batteries in Nasarawa State. And the president actually warned them to be mindful of the impact of that in the environment. But if you look at countries that are producing EV batteries, for instance, China, the impact, the waste generated from the production of these lithium batteries are said to be more dangerous to the society, to the environment, than every other thing that we're running away, the fossil fuel and all of that are running away from. What's your reading of this latest initiative, which the government is allowing the Chinese firm, of course, business partners, in creating jobs, being part of a country that will be contributing to the EV in the world? What's your reading of this latest initiative?
Yeah, I think we should be wary of trying to play the big role or the big boy, in being involved in everything that is coming without really analyzing it, and looking at it contextually within the content of your own environment. Now, as you've already pointed out, we know the chemical composition of a lithium battery, and we know that it is acidic, and it will be everywhere, because these batteries are not lifelong batteries, so they do not last for eternity. They have a lifespan. And if we are developing such a company, what are the plans, or what will be the plans of what happens after the batteries begin to outlive their lifespans? What in the petroleum sector is called decommissioning. So how will these remnant or usable batteries be collected, gathered, disposed of, so that it does not cause more harm than good? And of course, as technology advances, countries are inclined to flow with technology. Okay? So today, EV batteries or motor cars are the things that seems to be in vogue because we want to reduce dependence on fossil fuel energy sources. But the question would be, at the end of the day, we see the challenges we are having dealing with fossil fuel industry operations and activities. So how have we prepared ourselves in terms of being resilient to the impact that these batteries will cause? And don't forget, production stems from the sourcing of the materials that are needed or that will be utilized in the production itself. Okay? Now, a cycle from sourcing of the materials to the production of those equipment, to its use, and to its, is not being used again, how it is gathered. So it is a circle, and unless we understand and have put strict measures in this, it might just end up creating the problems that the petroleum sector have created. I will think that the way Mr. President is euphorically, talking with the Chinese company to come and invest will be the same way our forebears were expectant and very happy when oil production came to this climb. So we should learn from our mistakes in the past,
all right,
and then be able to correct it going forward.
And that's a fine place to leave the conversation this morning. Chima Williams, a country focal person, Public Interest Lawyering Initiative for West Africa. Thank you for your time. Also to come on TVC Breakfast, Iran mourns the death of President Saeed Ibrahim.